ministers, MLAs, friends, colleagues. It's a great pleasure and an honor to have the Chief Minister as our keynote speaker. He'll speak mainly on the theme of bringing English education medium to primary schools in Andhra Pradesh. A very radical step, and this will be brought in from the coming academic year. The Hindu has an obvious interest in the English language and in promoting the English language. We are 141 years old. As an English language newspaper, the Hindu has contributed to the learning of improvement of English language proficiency, at least in the southern part of the country, over the decades. And in August of 2016, we launched STEP, which expands as Standard Testing of English Proficiency. It's an English language testing, training and certification program that our group has launched, and there are many other groups here in this area. Just to highlight the key points we are concerned with, it is the challenge. Let me try and formulate the challenge we face in the field of education. It's a challenge of striking a balance between or reconciling two great objectives: the pursuit of quality and excellence on the one side, and on the other, the imperative need to make education of quality at all levels available in a progressive, modern sense. Quality and accessibility, excellence and affordability, aiming high and throwing your gates and doors wide open, these must not be seen as contradictory or conflicting goals, even if it is easier to reconcile these goals in principle than in practice. The tension between these two great goals defines the nature of all serious intellectual and cultural endeavor in a society that strives to excel while being non-elitist, truly democratic in a contemporary sense, and just. Emphasize one objective one-sidedly, and the endeavor is guaranteed to get into trouble. It is in this context that the government of Andhra Pradesh, and in particular the Chief Minister, have come up with a very radical proposal. It's not just in the area of language. It's a project for a complete makeover of schools in Andhra Pradesh, first over a 2-year period and then over a 4-year period, and that will go on. And it is notable that this decision seems to have been made, this firm decision seems to have been made in a very interesting experience of the Padayatra, the 3,648 kilometers, is that right? 3,648 kilometer Padayatra across the state, where among other things, he found the state of literacy and basic education to be in a pathetic state, that the most elementary amenities or facilities were lacking in government schools, in rural schools, and the victims were the poor. And everywhere he found that there was a demand for apart from the basic goods, a demand for English medium education. And among the poorest families, he found that there was a tendency, a strong drive to shift to English medium private schools that were offering their instruction in English. And this resulted in he also found that this meant a big financial burden on these families. So the basis for this radical step, let me highlight that. There has been in the South over the last decade or so a thrust towards English medium instruction. It happened in Tamil Nadu, it's happened in Kerala and so on, but nowhere has a government decided to universalize English medium instruction across the board in government and government-aided schools. The private sector is already doing it in English medium, but nowhere else has it been done in this way, making it mandatory to do this, leaving no choice to the other to various schools. In Kerala, for example, perhaps you'll be surprised to know that more than half of the 37 lakh students enrolled in school are studying in the English medium, and there I learned recently from the State Planning Board that there's a rule that parent-teachers associations can decide to shift to the English medium, but at least one stream should be in Malayalam medium and so on. But Andhra Pradesh is, to the best of my knowledge, the first and only state in the country which has made this mandatory and is universalizing this radical change. And it is entirely demand-driven. That is our understanding. I learned that when you ask people across the state, and this is probably true in most other parts, at least of southern India, when you ask parents, especially the poorest, the most backward, including scheduled caste and scheduled tribe families, what would you like your children to do? The answer seems to be virtually unanimous. And yet, there are voices that offer resistance and opposition, particularly those who send their children to English medium schools, private schools and so on. So there are those voices as well. I don't want to comment beyond that. But these are issues that we follow as journalists, follow as news media. And but this is only one pillar of this project of a complete makeover of education. When we were traveling from the Chief Minister's residence, he kindly invited us this morning for breakfast. He was telling me about the plans ahead for higher education as well. So without further ado, I want to maximize the time for the Chief Minister's keynote address, which will be followed. He's agreed to take a few questions from me, and perhaps if some of you have it, if there is time, he may consider it. I also requested him to address another issue which will be of news interest here, and he's agreed. I don't want to preempt that part of the discussion, but I promise you it will be an interesting address, interesting interaction with the Chief Minister. There are further panel discussions after that. So let me welcome everybody, including the panelists and the other participants. And again, Chief Minister, Mr. Jagan Reddy, it's a great honor and pleasure that you are here. Please take the stage.